Well, Skeleton Crew is over. At least season 1 of Skeleton Crew is over, and I am so sad. This show was pretty much exactly what it should have been. So few missteps, so much fun, the perfect scale for the story, and it all ended with what I thought was an immensely satisfying finale. If this is all we get from Skeleton Crew, if there's no season 2, if the kids or Jude don't show up in future shows, well, this was great. So let's talk the episode. Full spoiler warning. And I gotta say, I think I predicted things pretty well. If you watched my past videos or Tapcaf Transmissions, the podcast I run with Corey, a lot of what I thought would happen ended up coming true. We learned that Atton is being controlled by a droid. I predicted this, and I thought it'd be similar to the BRT supercomputer from Star Wars Legends. Now, the BRT is slightly obscure, but I absolutely love the old Star Wars comic strip. No, not the Marvel comics, the newspaper comic strip from the 70s and 80s, and in the very first comic, we see the BRT. It was the 70s idea of a supercomputer, and it managed entire planetary systems, while also, of course, housing vast amounts of data. It seems like the computer at Atton was doing a similar job, and surprisingly was even connected to the Greater Republic, at least to an extent. It seems like Atton had at least some form of listening. The planet's computer heard Order 66, although obviously there was nothing to act on, nor I think would it have. But that was cool. I just really liked most elements of this episode. I thought it was extremely obvious that the kids, and Wim in particular, would be forced to revisit the jump from episode 1, but it worked so well. And having Wim's dad along for the ride was also a nice touch. Just a fairly delightful scene. I also thought it was obvious, since the turbo laser was shown earlier in the series, that Neil would find the version housed on Atton, and of course he did. There were lots of other nice payoffs too. For example, when Wim grabs the lightsaber, this time he makes sure to check which side is the emitter, but overall just extremely charming. But let's talk specific plot elements sort of in semi-chronological order. First, at Atton as a whole, there are still a lot of questions left about this planet and the supervisor. I was actually surprised that the supervisor seems to be somewhat benevolent. I think he adheres maybe too strictly to his programming. He's kind of all logic, all running the planet smoothly, which is why, despite no contact from the Republic in 2 decades, he's changed nothing. I don't think he was necessarily trying to keep people on the planet. I think he was just following his general directives. I did expect there to be more secrets about the planet. I thought it was possible that it was sort of a Fallout Vault situation where, yes, one function of Atton was to serve as a mint for the Republic, but I also thought it was going to perhaps be some sort of psychological or sociological test site for the Republic. The implications of it now being accessible to the wider galaxy are interesting. Obviously, the shroud is now down, anyone can visit, and that's a scary possibility. These are people which have for their entire lives been segregated from the outside world. They don't know what the galaxy is truly like. But the New Republic also does offer some hope, and I thought it was very interesting to see that CR-90, obviously a diplomatic vessel, showing up at the end. When I saw the CR-90 pulling in, I really thought we were going to see a Princess Leia's CGI thing. I'm glad they didn't go in that direction. Maybe it was sort of implied, maybe not. I will say, sort of, my one miss for this episode perhaps was a post-credit scene or an epilogue would have been really nice. There's so much left unanswered. I think Jude as a character is a completely open book, the fate of the children and Atton as well. But let's talk about Jude, because for a lot of people, myself included, he's the character who most defied our expectations. Even last episode, I thought it was possible we could see some sort of redemption for him. Not a full redemption, but maybe a recognition that he's unleashed something completely unfair against the populace of this planet. Maybe he would turn against the pirates when they start taking things too far. I mean, we do get a little bit of that. I think and maybe this is pure cope, despite what Jude portrays on the outside, there is still good in him. We see he's clearly hesitant to hurt the children. You know, he had every opportunity to just blast the kids, to blast the parents, to make the whole situation essentially go away, and he chose not to. Even after his plans were foiled, instead of firing out of anger, he put the gun down. Then at the very end, when the New Republic shows up, I do think maybe at the end, as the New Republic shows up, he gets a bit of hope, because his entire character, we now learn, is based on his traumatic childhood. I think as many of us expected, survivor of Order 66, he came from a terrible life only to see his master killed, and he wants money to not be in that situation again. It's understandable, it doesn't explain or justify his actions, but I thought he was just a super compelling, really fun character overall. He's not outright good, he's not outright evil, he's not even a scoundrel with a heart of gold like Han Solo, or even a bit shadier like Dash Rendar. He's somewhere completely else in the spectrum, but all the character work in this show was phenomenal. The kids together had such a great dynamic by the end of it, as did the parents. It was awesome to see the kids getting to experience more adult responsibilities, while the parents themselves get that sense of adventure too. Wim's father whooping as he goes over the jump, the parents in the last episode coming together. It's all a lot of fun, and that's probably what I'll miss most about this show. The group was really fun. I would have loved to see them go on more adventures. Maybe we'll, that's my only hope. Also, Neil, man, just unreal love of baths. I've got a friend, he takes a bath every day. It's wild. But as for the action in the episode, I thought it was phenomenal. Obviously, it has the classic Star Wars trope of bad guys can't shoot things in a straight line. Thankfully, those sections were pretty quick and were also helped by some really compelling speeder action, but the shot of the ship coming through the clouds was so cool. And of course, the B-Wing composite laser, so cool. It was awesome we got to see that in live action. For those who don't know, it wasn't just Star Wars Rebels with the prototype B-Wing, which had this composite laser. We've also seen it in Star Wars Squadrons, albeit pared down slightly. Just awesome. I will say, one other surprise for this episode, I really thought they were going to give Wim force powers there at the very end. I thought he was going to reach out and push John away without even really meaning to. I'm not sure if I'm happy they did not do that. I think the show had a remarkable level of constraint in telling a story sort of disconnected from the rest of the universe's major plot lines, while still feeling very much like Star Wars. But I don't know, it would have been pretty cool. I think it would have been straight out of the 80s movies Skeleton Crew clearly pulls from. But man, I'm really sad this show's over. I know I've said it a few times, but watching those end credits especially, this is what I want from Star Wars television shows. I think that the movies are still best for telling the heavy-hitting stories, the ones really connected to the main threads of the universe, but shows like The Mandalorian Season 1, like Skeleton Crew, they're just so delightful, and I think they do a great job of converting viewers into Star Wars fans and regular fans into hardcore fans. But a fun show with a complex villain who, despite being an asshole, kind of goes out of his way not to hurt innocent people. Awesome special effects, great acting, interesting ideas. Skeleton Crew to me was a triumph, and hopefully we get a season 2. If not, I would love a series of Bantam style books all about Skeleton Crew. But that's all I've got. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.